We are back to draft yet again. We're about to find out momentarily what spot we're drafting from. How y'all doing today, ladies, gentlemen, all you fellas out there? Best ball mania, $1,001,000 to first. The puppy, 50 grand to first. You get 150 max these things. We're talking about best ball. We are technically in some ways mock drafting. Every single time we do this, it is a practice, but it's not 100% a mock draft because there's $25 buy-ins, there's $5 buy-ins, 10 depending on where you want to play. And we're playing over on Underdog. We're waiting for 3 more people to fill this specific contest, and I can let you rock and roll with what we're doing. I'm drafting off of my tiers, my PPR tiers. This is half point PPR. Well, we'll make it work, right? We'll make it work. If you want to draft off of those, you get them down below in the Supreme Draft Guide. Now, we're getting closer to August. We're midway through July now, so news is starting to come out. And it's slow, but more people are at camp. More reporters are now, with COVID, are allowed to go to camp at some teams, depending on where they're located. So Tariq Cohen says that his knee is still sore from last year. Massive red flag. Tariq Cohen, who's somebody we were expecting to take some passing game usage away from David Montgomery, who was a massive running back last year. Stop using that word, Sal. Big running back last year in terms of production. Well, if Cohen's knee is still hurt from an ACL, if it's sore, it's not going to get better. It's not going to get better in a month when the preseason starts. So if it's sore still right now, when it's not supposed to be sore right now, there might have been either a setback or something wrong with that surgery. That's not good. That opens up opportunities for Damian Williams behind him. That opens up opportunities for David Montgomery even more in the passing game. So it might just be a quote. It's one thing when a coach says he's in the best shape of his life. It's another thing when a player tells you that his knee that he had surgery on is still sore when it's not supposed to be sore. So that's some of the news that's trickling out as we get closer to August. Of course, once we start to get to mid-August, a couple weeks away, you're going to start to see some more rookies gain their hype trains in the preseason as they take their 4 carries for 24 yards, and they looked fantastic on an average 6 yard per carry. 2 of them were bad, and one was like a 13-yard gain. You're going to get those, right? So we ended up just getting into this right here, right now, and I'll pop it up onto the screen. So I get the second pick. Not bad. So we're going to be drafting second overall. I have drafted recently towards the front of the draft, but I believe in that one I was drafting fourth. So we get the second pick. This bad boy is starting up in about 30 seconds. And also, hey, if you haven't been here in a while, we're starting to slowly build up this studio right here for the NFL season. There's ways you can do it and make it like clean. I might light up some more stuff in the background. You can either go the clean route, or you can go, I'm going to put a bunch of shit on the wall route. And I started off with, let's go the clean route. And to get super clean and super crisp, specific things you got to order in terms of memorabilia, I was like, you know what? I don't want to be doing too much with this. So we're going to just get as much as we can. So if you want to send anything to the studio here, right? If you want to send anything to the home base, you can. We're just going to throw a bunch of shit up on the wall. We're slowly trying to build it all the way up. We're starting to. I don't even know about trying, but we are starting to build it all the way up. So let me go here with the just screen version. First players on the clock, you would expect that Christian McCaffrey to go there. So now this is an interesting spot for me personally at the 2 spot, because I personally in my rankings have right now Ezekiel Elliott as the number 2 overall player in fantasy football this year. What? You're crazy. I want to draft him to the end of the first round. Dalvin Cook might be a little bit safer for some people, right? Safer, even though he's more of, I would say, a potential injury prone player. I'm taking Ezekiel Elliott here. Again, this is a spot where I think you're going to be going, this guy's an idiot. How did he not take Dalvin Cook or Saquon or Derrick Henry? The number 2 spot is probably the spot I want to be least in the draft because of that. At the number 3 spot, I just take who's left of Dalvin Cook and Zeke. At number 1, I take McCaffrey. After that, Zeke falls often to, I've gotten Zeke at the 10th pick in the first round, so it doesn't feel as great to take him at the 2nd overall pick, but that is where I value him right now. I value Ezekiel Elliott for plenty of reasons. Heavy involvement in the passing game. The offensive line is now healthier. Obviously, Dak Prescott is back. Was a top 3 running back in fantasy football first month of the season. Led the NFL in routes run for a running back last year. This defense is still bad, so I continue to expect him to continue to run routes while he trails in games. So you can see players are coming off the board now. Jonathan Taylor goes at the 1-5. Taylor going before Saquon Barkley, going before Cam Akers, Alvin Kamara. I have Taylor as my number 10 overall running back right now, and that is something that you can find again on the Supreme Draft Guide. That has now, it's released. It released at the beginning of July. You can get it for free, limited time only. Down below, that's what we're drafting off of the tiers, the top 200s, the ranks, so on and so forth. So running backs are going off the board often. That is what we're going to expect here. Usually you see a wide receiver go 1, maybe 2 in the first round. Tyreek is usually that name. I think we'll start to see more Devontae Adams once this Aaron Rodgers stuff gets resolved in what I would expect to be sometime over the next month. So Saquon falls to the 1-8. It's not rare to see Saquon fall to the 1-8. it's a bad offensive line. That's the biggest concern here. It's a bad offensive line, and the passing game usage is going to be in question. Not only do they have a lot of players out there who are going to be more than capable pass catchers in short to intermediate ranges, Sterling Shepard back in the slot, Kadarius Toney out of the backfield potentially, right? Evan Ingram himself, not only attending the George Kittle and the George Kittle and Travis Kelce camp, or George Kittle and I believe it was Greg Olsen camp that are putting it on. And there goes Travis Kelce, a tight end taken in the first round. So we got to wait a while until my next pick. A lot of running backs continue to come off the board. Steph Diggs went off the board as well in the first round. And the best available running back for me right now is pretty convincingly Aaron Jones, my number 7 overall running back. He is my best available player. Devontae Adams would be right next to him. So a couple Packers currently left. There goes Antonio Gibson, taken mighty early in my opinion, my running back 19. I would have taken about 6 or 7 running backs earlier than him, but you're clearly baking in the risk there. You don't think he will be back around to you later on in the third round, which I would assume is a spot you probably don't start to see him. But yeah, the concerns with Saquon offensive line is looking to be potentially the worst. Pro Football Focus grades them last year 31st. This year, projecting ahead to 32nd offensive line. Then there's only 32 teams in the NFL, so that is a major issue, right? A big issue for Saquon. And then Eli Manning checking down to him 10 to 14 times a game in his rookie campaign when he goes off is going to be beneficial for him. Since Daniel Jones has been there, he has not been fully himself all that often. You know, Eli started his sophomore season, comes in, Saquon gets a high ankle sprain. So he has never really been fully healthy outside of the first game before the ACL injury last year. But Daniel Jones, more of a mobile quarterback, has not checked down to running backs a lot. Maybe if he can cure some of his own hesitancy problems and holding onto the ball and fumbling more, and actually checking down to arguably the best running back in the NFL, and Saquon Barkley, that can help. But this is that narrative that begins. As you can see, Joe Mixon, there goes finally Devontae Adams at the 2-6. Great spot to get him. And the top 2 tight ends are now off the board when Waller goes at the 2-7. But if you know my motto, it is, stop trying to get so many ifs. You can't do the ifs. If this, if this, if this. If my aunt was my uncle, you know the rest of that one. So if you're going to say if the offensive line improves, if it improves from being potentially the worst last year to still bottom third, is that enough to be taking him so early? Now we're back on the clock here at the 2-11. Aaron Jones goes and Najee Harris goes. Those are my final 2 running backs in my tier 2. So they go right before my pick. My best available player right now that I'm looking at is going to be Michael Thomas at the wide receiver spot. This is a player that I don't normally take here. I usually like to go with a couple of running backs early. Now, if I'm looking at any running back, let's go Michael Thomas here because he is my best available wide receiver. So we go Michael Thomas. He's my best available wide receiver. He's the only receiver left in my tier 1. I have 7 guys in that tier. And that gives us a couple of picks to see just what falls to us. One guy gets back-to-back picks here, Storm Mathis. What falls to us at running back? Clyde Edwards-Helaire is on this board right now. Chris Carson, DeAndre Swift, Miles Sanders, they're all on this board. I would like Clyde in the third here. Taking him in the second also could have been fine. But I'm okay to take whatever falls to me. And there goes George Kittle. So this is perfect. I was fine to take Clyde or Chris Carson, whoever fell to me there, assuming he wasn't going to take both. I will now take Clyde Edwards-Helaire with my third pick, a player that I took in my home league at the 1.5 last year, the 1.4. So I'm liking this start. We get our 2 strong running backs, Zeke and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. It's going to be hard to stack those running backs, which in general we don't care to stack, get players from the same team, so you have to correlate less. In a tournament like this, you should be looking to stack at least one of your weapons, but we can still stack the Cowboys side. Patrick Mahomes is going to be gone by my next pick. I'm almost sure of it. But stacking the Cowboys side is more than in play here. So guys are going off the board here. Keenan Allen, my number 8 wide receiver, goes off the board. That's a nice value on him at the 3-4. We'll see what we end up getting. So we have 2 running backs, and we have that wide receiver. I am interested in my next turn at looking to complete a Cowboy stack. I'd be okay with a 4 or 5 pick if Dak makes it to me and whoever of CeeDee Lamb and Amari makes it to me. Now, the CeeDee Lamb and Amari making it to me at the beginning or the end of the 4th round seems rare, but Dak could be there. And then you can get a late round tight end, Blake Jarwin. You can get the Michael Gallup later on. So I'll be looking at Dak Prescott with one of my next 2 picks. We get those 2 picks towards the end of the round, and we get 2 picks and 4 picks. So we'll see what happens there. Now, if this was a season-long league, which a lot of you watching are probably looking for some season-long help, I'll kind of talk through the differences there. I would not be personally looking to take Dak Prescott. If I only have to beat 11 to 12 to 13, somewhere depending on how big your league is, if I only have to beat 11 guys or so, I'm not going to be taking, you can still stack. I think it's a good idea to even stack in season long, but I'm not trying to reach as much for a quarterback in the 4th, 5th, 6th round. Whereas a Matthew Stafford I can get in the 9th and 10th round in my season-long leagues. So there goes CeeDee Lamb. He goes ahead of Amari here. I have Amari ranked higher than CeeDee Lamb at this point. There's still a lot of great wide receivers. There goes Amari. So this stacks now for the Cowboys would be that Zeke stack of Blake Jarwin maybe later and Michael Gallup, who you can kind of get later on. The 312 goes Allen Robinson, and we're still looking here, and I believe so Terry McLaurin went at the 3-6. So my top 2 tiers of wide receivers are gone. We're starting to see some more running backs go and Chris Carson goes, and this is just a run of wide receivers. So if you watch a lot of what I do with these drafts, DJ Moore, a pretty bad pick there, in my opinion, by Don't Let Your Meatloaf. So I'm not too sure if I would have done that. Mike Evans, not a terrible pick, but other guys I would have chosen. So here's the thing, and this is just really bad drafting in my opinion at this point by who's on the board right now. 6 wide receivers. Again, that 6 pick with Cooper Kupp is actually not bad. That's a decent value. But 6 wide receivers go in a row. You know you're probably not getting the guy you wanted, right? So there you go. That's a good move by Joe Schmo right there. Takes DeAndre Swift. If 6 wide receivers go in a row, there's a pretty damn good chance, especially drafting in July. If people are drafting now, they're probably somewhat sharp, right? They know what they're doing if they have the cojones to draft this early. It is interesting to me to see that, guys, you take 6 wide receivers in a row. 6 guys in a row with Mike Evans, DJ Moore, and Tyler Lockett being in that category. Unless you're stacking, it's an interesting move to make. And now 7 out of 8 picks are wide receivers. And the reason I'm harping on this is that if you're the first, second, or third guy, it's fine. But if you're this guy right here who takes Adam Thielen, in my opinion, 2 rounds too early, he is a massive do not draft. We have a video coming out about him soon. If you take him there, after 6 wide receivers just went that I believe who are all better than him, you know you're not getting good value at that pick, right? You can now get at that pick a value running back because all the running back tiers or value tight end, quarterback, whatever you want to take there, harder early on to go tight end or quarterback, I understand that. But the running back spot just looks a lot better. So it is somewhat specific based or situation based, right? You might be a player, and we're 2 picks away now. You might be somebody who goes, hey, you know what? I already have 2 wide receivers. I have 2 running backs. I just need a wide receiver here. Sure. But you're getting bad value. So now I'm on the board here, and there's so much left on the board. There's a lot. We have 2 picks here. We can go with the Dak Prescott. Deontay Johnson and Kenny Golladay are still there. Deontay Johnson, my best available wide receiver. Running backs, I'm looking at Travis Etienne. Looks very nice here. Travis Etienne, David Montgomery. They're my highest ranked running backs right now. I think I'm going to go. I've been drafting Etienne a lot. We'll go Montgomery. Normally I'll go Etienne there, but we'll go Montgomery over Etienne, Gaskin, Davis, mainly because of this Tariq Cohen news. They do have Damian Williams back there, but Tariq Cohen now, and that gives us 3 running backs to a wide receiver. I'm fine with that. Tariq Cohen being banged up is a red alert, in my opinion. That is a red alert if you have an ACL and the knee is still hurting you as a player who thrives in open space and trying to create extra yards after the catch, yards per reception type stuff. So him not being as effective in the passing game will lead to him on the field less. And a month away from preseason action, less than 2 months away from the season starting, not great if you're still feeling soreness in that knee. So I'm on a board in another pick. If Dak Prescott falls to me here, I think I'm going to try and build a Cowboys stack. Again, if this was season long, I'd be looking at wide receiver here. If this was season long, I'd be looking to take Deontay Johnson here. And I'm almost tempted to go Deontay Johnson right now. He's my best available wide receiver. If I get Dak here, I have the built-in stack with Zeke, but we want more than that. We would have to prioritize Gallup and or a Blake Jarwin late. At that point, we can get the late stack if we go Deontay Johnson with, let's go Deontay here. This can come back to bite me, but we go Deontay Johnson. I don't really want much Big Ben ownership because he might not finish the season this year, but not a single quarterback until the pick after me. But by the time I took that pick, not a single quarterback was off the board. So fingers crossed, maybe in another 16, 18 picks, Dak Prescott can fall to us. My guess is whoever the hell has Amari or CeeDee Lamb, one of those guys will be taking Dak. That's just my guess. But I make that pick of Deontay Johnson knowing that I'm potentially sacrificing there. But with the players that we do get there, with the wide receivers that we have now taken through our first 2 picks, which are going to be Michael Thomas and Deontay Johnson, we have the ability to go with this later round strategy of a Jameis Winston, who is, in my opinion, the best value quarterback right now in drafts. It was Trey Lance for a very short amount of time until everybody understood how much upside he probably has with the 49ers if he sees the field, and that's really his only if, in my opinion. So, yes, I think that we have the ability to, we're not going to get the Cowboys stack. It has a lot of upside, of course, and maybe we still will get it. But if we don't, there's a lot of upside in a Jameis Winston stack, right, based on the last time that we saw him. Having him with just Michael Thomas alone, and, maybe we can get a Troutman later. So some guys going off the board, as you can see. I'm really not fans of any of these guys, so I'm happy that these players are going off the board. Kyle Pitts, fine, 5-4. It's not a bad pick at this point, right? It's fine at the 5-4. But Odell, Claypool, Josh Jacobs, those 4 guys that just went in a row, even Mahomes, like at the 5-3, not really on my radar for what I was stacking. These guys are not interest of mine. So it's nice to see 5 picks go by that I'm not like, oh man, I want to, like Josh Allen, right? The only issue with Josh Allen going there is another quarterback is off the board if people are just looking to starting to take quarterbacks for non-stacking reasons. But I assume Joe Schmo has Steph Diggs potentially. So Joe Schmo does not have Steph Diggs, so maybe he'll try and stack later on there. So you can see Mike Davis goes. So these are guys, Mark Andrews goes. This is perfect. Dak Prescott goes, and there you go. So my guess is the hope on the Dak Prescott staying was very slim. I made that pick not taking him, knowing that. My guess is this player has CeeDee Lamb or Amari. He has Amari Cooper. So the guy who took Dak has Amari Cooper, snipes him from the player who took CeeDee Lamb. But that is something that we understood going into that one. So Michael Gallup goes. So that's actually a really good turn there. So he reaches on Michael Gallup by maybe just a round. And the 6-2, the early 6 is very early to be taking, in my opinion, Michael Gallup. But he already had Amari and he already had Dak. So now he has a very strong and a hard to get Cowboy stack because you have to spend 3 picks usually in your first 6. So that's a really strong start, in my opinion, by Don't Let Your Meatloaf. I'm a little bit confused by the name, to be honest. So we're coming. We got to be coming up on the clock. So Travis Etienne falls to the 6-6. Incredible value there. I mean, I considered taking him at my 4th pick. So Travis Etienne falling to the 6-6. Incredible value. I'm jealous of the value that guy just got. Man, so I have 3 running backs, 2 receivers. Lamar Jackson and Russell Wilson just went off the board, so I'm going to be waiting on a quarterback. I can wait for Jameis and have a stack there. I don't really want Big Ben, but there's an opening for a stack with Deontay Johnson. He's the only guy. Juju, if I really wanted to try and load up on this Pittsburgh stack, but not really trying to put my all my eggs into the Drew Brees year, if you will, falling off in arm strength and just overall versatility out of Big Ben and even health. So at this point, it's just sort of best available at the 6-11 for me. I have 3 running backs. I have 2 receivers. In these best ball formats, I'm not really looking to usually take more than, I'm fine usually with 3 running backs to 4. I could take 5. More than that is not really something I'm looking into. Tight end here is not appealing to me. TJ Hawkinson, unless TJ Hawkinson falls, it could be somewhat appealing. Hawkinson's still there at the 6-11. He normally goes at the beginning of the 6th. We're here at the end of it. If he was to fall to me in the 7th, I would pull a trigger there. But not much is left on the board here. Myles Gaskin is left on the board as of right now. So Deebo Samuel goes. So I'm looking at this, and this is just the way that it's going, right? Wide receivers that I wanted were DJ Shark, Sutton. They just went. So now the wide receivers that are best available to me is like Jerry Jeudy, Juju, and that's not guys I'm really looking to take. Juju, if I'm trying to build the Steelers stack, sure. Nothing at tight end stands out. TJ Hawkinson to an extent. I think I'm going to pivot here, and I'm going to go to a quarterback, and I'm going to go Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts over Herbert. That's how I have it ranked. Hurts is my number 6 overall quarterback. This now allows me to do some things. If I want to go Dallas Goedert with the 7th pick, I can. Probably won't, but I can. And this guy just takes Devontae Smith behind me, but that's fine. We can get Jalen Reagor. The hope here would be really to probably get Jalen Reagor later on. So there goes Laviska Shenault and Devonta Smith. Based on where Devonta Smith and Shenault are going, not really too concerned about that. I'm at the 7-2 here, and TJ Hawkinson is still available. I mean, these are a lot. 7-2, and Hawkinson and Myles Gaskin are still available. For the upside of the position and what it can do for you, getting Hawkinson at the 7-2 for me is, I mean, just an absolute dream. Hawkinson's ADP, he's not somebody I usually take. Hawkinson ADP right now is the 63rd overall pick. So in a 12-team draft, and it's actually 62.8, so it's less than that. In a 12-team draft, Hawkinson is going at the 5-3. Unless some report just came out. We got TJ Hawkinson 2 rounds later than we're supposed to get TJ Hawkinson. And here's another thing that I should at least call out. This is not the $25 Best Ball Mania draft. Every other time I've done one of these streams, it has been. They open up a new contest on Underdog. If you want to draft on this platform, you can go down below. If you use the code SAL when you sign up and that link, you'll actually get $25 upon your first deposit. You can only deposit $5 and you get $25 back. So it's not a bad idea to try that out. But what I was trying to say there was, we're playing in the $5 contest, so you're seeing, like, Myles Gaskin just fell to the 7-7. This is a guy that people are taking often in the 5th round, right? TJ Hawkinson, 5th round, get him in the 7th round. It's just insane. So when you're playing in these $5, it's a $5 buy-in, I believe, instead of $25. You start to get some people, and we're getting closer to the season, people drafting for the first time. They don't remember who Myles Gaskin is. I'm not taking Myles Gaskin in the 5th, 6th round, although Malcolm Brown and not many other running backs there. They don't remember that TJ Hawkinson was one of the best tight ends in football last year, and sure, now he has a quarterback change, and maybe not as good of one, but he also has 0 target competition. A running back, DeAndre Swift, might be his best target competition. Rookies, Amon-Ra St. Brown, former rookies, Quintez Cephas, those guys are who's competing with him right now. So my tier 4s of wide receivers are now done. My tier 3s are now done at running back. We already have 3 running backs, right? We're sitting pretty there. We ended up snagging a quarterback and a tight end in that last round, which the reason I take the quarterback is Jalen Hurts is one of the last, and there's some more guys later on, but it's a little bit trickier to get to them, and if they play all their games, Jalen Hurts is one of the last, if not the last, starting quarterback who has mobile upside. Now we'll see what happens with Justin Fields, and mobile upside not meaning Joe Burrow can rush for 25 yards. But, I mean, can rush for 100 yards, right? We saw what Jalen Hurts last year. Can rush for 50+. Yes, Trey Lance and Justin Fields have that upside, but are they going to start week 1? We don't know. So if they don't start week 1 and they miss 4 or 5 weeks of the season, in best ball, that can really hurt you when you're only looking to take 2 quarterbacks, because then you're relying on your other quarterback if he only gets you 10 points one week or 12 points, like that's really hurting your upside in terms of the overall tournament. So you're seeing some really bad mistakes happening here. You have 4 wide receivers go in a row, then a running back, and then 5. So 9 out of the last 10 picks were just wide receivers, which is just repeat the exact thing I said earlier. That sounds like a mistake waiting to happen. People are overdrafting Mike Williams at the 7-10. Just brutal to see that for some people. Overdrafting Jalen Waddle at this point. Yeah, so a lot of guys being overdrafted in these rounds. But yeah, it's an interesting thing to see so many guys take wide receivers when you know at that point you're just getting the wrong wide receiver. It's in the point of the draft, though, when obviously wide receiver is much deeper. Damn, so Dallas Goedert goes. I wasn't looking to maybe take Dallas Goedert 100% there and get 2 tight ends early, but to stack him with Jalen Hurts as what I believe will be the best weapon is interesting. Devonta Parker goes. Like, these are just brutal wide receiver picks in these mid-rounds right now. Brandon Cooks goes. That's not as brutal, I would say. That's actually quality at the 8-5. Michael Pittman goes, not as brutal, but man, some people, I mean, Devonta Smith, Jaylen Brown, Hollywood Brown, Mike Williams, those are names that I like, but I mean, not a round or 2 ahead of their ADP right now. The hype on Mike Williams right now is through the roof. It's incredible. There's still a lot of good running backs left on the board. I'm actually surprised by how many good running backs are left on the board right now. We're seeing Chase Edmonds left on the board, a guy who usually goes in the 7th round. He's potentially going to make it to me in the 8th round if I choose to go that route. Let's see where Jalen Reagor usually goes. I'm going to just pull up the Eagles, actually. So we'll star Jalen Reagor. He's kind of our last guy to stack up with Jalen Hurts. The other thing to point out about Jalen Hurts is I don't have to stack Jalen Hurts because he's a guy who gets 100 yards on the ground. So you could run him naked. But, of course, if he's having a massive season in general, it's going to come on the ground, but also through the air somewhat. So getting a weapon is not a bad idea. But Reagor usually doesn't go till the 10th, 11th round. So I can probably hold off on him. So what I'm looking at right now is I only have 2 receivers, so I need to really start piling on receiver. But TJ Hawkinson, basically a wide receiver. So let's start to pile on receiver here. We're going to be thin at wide receiver and have to get a lot of guys late. I'm looking at running back. Chase Edmonds is very appealing right now. But let's just go receiver here, and we're going to start to pile on these wide receivers. There goes Edmonds before me. Makes it a little bit of an easier pick for me at this next spot. So my best available receivers are Corey Davis. Darnell Mooney in the 8th round just seems a little bit too early at this point. Nelson Aguilar, Marvin Jones. So Corey Davis is probably going to be the guy I go to here. Profiles out as a number 1 receiver. Everybody wants Elijah Moore, a rookie, to be the number 1 receiver. Everybody's already anointing him out of the slot ahead of Jamison Crowder, who they said, hey, we really want you to stay. Can you take a pay cut? We want you to stay, instead of just being like, hey, you're getting cut. So Michael Carter goes, all positive, looks good in camp, news coming out about him. But Corey Davis, I'm fine taking there. I do think it might have been somewhat of a flash in the pan last year, but I do think his skill set also matches up nicely downfield with a Zach Wilson. So we're back on the clock again now at the 9th pick. Running backs at this point, nothing stands out too much. Wide receivers at this point, Darnell Mooney is my best available on my board, and he seems to be the best available right now. God damn, Elijah Moore is just getting so overdrafted at this point. So go Darnell Mooney. I think Elijah Moore has a lot of upside, but there's a limit to what those type of guys can do. Undersized, 99% of the slot last year. I like the athlete. See, he goes right there. So Elijah Moore goes right after me. But he's not even close. Like, I have about 6-7 wide receivers still on the board before him. He's getting overdrafted. Taking a rookie on the New York Jets in the 9th round when they still have Jamison Crowder going to be involved, whether he starts, which I assume he would, or not, it's risky because what is the upside there? People are trying to make Elijah Moore become Odell Beckham and an elite outside receiver when he never really showed it in college. Some flashes may be shown, but never even had the opportunity too much to do it. So I think that it's a mistake to take Elijah Moore that early. Now we're at the 9-3, so it's not the worst overall pick. You're shooting for upside, of course, but there's other upside options that you can take. Like Rondale Moore, I'd be much more comfortable taking a round or 2 later, who's in a very similar situation. What looks to be a better offense with Arizona, what looks to be a situation where he can move right into the slot, and, oh yeah, he was an absolute monster in the slot in college. So that's just my issue right now. I think there's a lot of hype, maybe because it's the New York media in general, bigger media outlets than Arizona. There's a lot of hype coming in on Elijah Moore. I don't mean to cut it off at the knees. I like the athlete. I liked him coming out of the draft. I liked where they got him. Great pick. He's going to help this offense. But ADP, average draft position, makes it a little bit tough to be a full-on, yes, that's the right way to go. So now let's start to talk about some of the stacks. So Jalen Reagor I could take to try and stack up Philly a little bit, right? We can do that. Taking Darnell Mooney opens up the Justin Fields stack, which then gives us also mobile upside as well. So that's appealing to me. Zach Wilson late with the New York Jets stack, and we can also kind of pile on with other players in that regard as well if we really wanted to, like a Crowder in that regard, like a Chris Herndon if you wanted to see him as your second overall running back. So there goes Rondale Moore about a round later, 9-10 picks later. than Elijah Moore. I think that's just better value in general. Jalen Reagor is going to look like the next pick that I'm trying to get if he can last on the board right now. So Rondell Moore goes. These are all guys, though, in general, I'm really not looking to take where they are going. Jalen Reagor would be the guy, though, that I will take. A.J. Dillon goes. So a lot of guys I'm out. Gabe Davis goes massively early. Gabe Davis is my number 72 overall wide receiver. Had about 12 guys still left on the board before I would even consider taking Mr. Gabe Davis, but he ends up going. Is Ronald Jones still on the board? Wow, people are not taking. They take A.J. Dillon over Ronald Jones. They're taking James Robinson over Ronald Jones. I mean, this is just mistake after mistake people are making right now in this draft, in my opinion. My picks slowly coming up. There goes Aaron Rodgers. There goes Zach Moss. There goes Ronald Jones. Finally, I was going to say Ronald Jones in the end of the 10th round is a solid fucking pick. I mean, we'll see what ends up happening with Philip Lindsay or not. How involved that he'll be. Not Philip Lindsay. I don't know why I can't think of the depth. Actually, we can look at it right now. Obviously, Leonard Fournette's there, but we can see what's going to happen. Giovanni Bernard, who's getting heavily involved, but I think that's going to be more so a pull from Leonard Fournette. Melvin Gordon goes. I think that's a brutal pick. I mean, Melvin Gordon goes with Gus Edwards, Tony Pollard, Leonard Fournette still on the board. Brutal pick. There goes Henry Ruggs. Okay, so we're still going to load up on receivers here. Jalen Reagor will be my pick if he makes it to me. So Jalen Reagor usually goes basically right around this pick. So he's arguably the best available wide receiver left. He is on this board. So we'll take Reagor. That ensures we have one stack there with Jalen Hurts. So now we have 5 receivers. We end up taking Jalen Reagor there. Makes it nice. Very nice overall. Looking at what's left on the board, some tight ends are going. I do think that building a stack with Jameis is a priority. I think getting Jameis Winston and Adam Trautman should be, at the very least, Jameis Winston should be my priority now. So if I'm looking at this, Jameis doesn't go for a while. You see Adam Trautman is going, as of right now, on average, his ADP is the 11-1. I'm picking at the 11-2. I'm going to take Adam Trautman here, and now I have to make sure I get Jameis Winston. So we're secure at tight ends through 11 rounds. I don't normally do that, but Adam Trautman will not make it back around to me. And also I should point out that the running backs left on the board, Gus Edwards just went. I was looking to take him. He goes. So there's not many running backs on the board that I'd rather have. I'd rather ensure this upside of a stack. So Leonard Fournette maybe there is a pick that I could take at the 11th round. He's obviously cratering somewhat because of the rise or the reports of Giovanni Bernard looking fantastic. The pictures coming out about his quads and all this other stuff, right? So we're all in now on completing the stack with Jameis, who normally is going in like the 14th round. Maybe we take him around earlier. We're all in on trying to do that. If we don't get it, the draft is not a complete bust, but it really does hurt our upside. And if we don't get it, maybe we just try and hope that it's Taysom Hill, but that I don't want to go that route. So Trey Lance goes. We could have tried to navigate a build of a Cole Kmet, Darnell Mooney, who we already have, and Justin Fields, but we didn't go that route. We take our second tight end. That is a very early time to take 2 tight ends, but we took them both. But we took Hockenson 2 rounds later, and Adam Trautman actually a pick behind his current average draft position. So fine with that. Whoops. And I just accidentally went away from my draft, so we have to get back in there before shit hits the fan. There we go. And then we're back in there. So I'm set on tight end. Anytime somebody takes a tight end, Nelson Aguilar at the 11-6, also great pick, by the way. Anytime anybody takes a tight end at this point, it's just thank you, right? It's thank you at that point. My eyes are locked in on Jameis Winston at the quarterback position. You can see I have him start right here. So for right now, for me, it's just draft a bunch of wide receivers. Maybe snag a running back if one falls to you, which right now Leonard Fournette is still there. Right now Tony Pollard is still there. Darrell Henderson might be my favorite based on where we can get him for upside in that offense. And he goes, as we said that. Somebody in my room listening to me, who knows? But other guys on the board, David Johnson, don't really want to be fully taking the 30-year-old running backs at this point. But we're looking at some decent quality wide receivers that are going to probably make it right back around to me. As more quarterbacks and running backs go, I just want to find the exact ADP. Still on Jameis. I'm surprised that this value is still out there. He goes on average right now at the 15-1 or the 15-2. We're only in the 11th round, so I don't have to reach 4 rounds. And if somebody does, that's on them, not on me personally. So there goes Tony Pollard and Fournette. Surprised that Fournette made it all the way to the 12th round. Again, these $5 leagues. Fournette's going often in the 8th to 9th round in main league. So we're getting some value built into this. I don't think there was any crazy news reports that came out on Leonard Fournette that I just ended up missing. Obviously, just general news on the situation with Giovanni Bernard, I assume, is the main draw there. So Cole Beasley goes, and now when wide receivers are taken, it hurts a little bit more. So Terrace Marshall goes, wasn't planning on taking him. That's pretty damn early for Terrace Marshall. But there are some wide receivers that I'm looking at this point. Traquan Smith goes, was not ever going to look at Traquan Smith all that seriously. He would be involved, of course, in a Saints stacks. That's the main reason I would look at him. But other than that, it was not much of a priority for me. Tight ends go, that's perfect. Gets us some more depth. So there are some guys I'm looking at wide receiver-wise. Running backs, Kenyon Drake is still on the board. Latavius Murray, no thank you. He's a full-on do-not-draft, 32-year-old running back with knee problems. Just screams potential cut candidate even, let alone efficiency. Kenyon Drake goes. So I only have 3 running backs right now. We could snag David Johnson with one of these 2 picks if he falls to us, but the other one we're going wide receiver. And I'd be fine to go David Johnson. Looking at the wide receiver position though, it's pretty ass. Like Christian Kirk is there. Amon-Ra St. Brown's a rookie. He's there. It's pretty ass. Amari is there. So let's just get David Johnson. We'll secure the running backs. You know what? Nyheim Hines is also there. Those guys I value equally from a reception standpoint and overall volume. So what I'm going to do here, and this might be taking this guy way too early. Yeah, Denzel Mims is just cratered. So we'll end up taking at the spot that I have best available right now. We'll take Christian Kirk here. Not the sexiest of picks. He's my 6th wide receiver at this point. Yeah, he's my 6th wide receiver at this point. We'll just take him. He dropped about 10 picks. He was my best available wide receiver. Well, my best available wide receiver is a guy that I'm not taking this early. Denzel Mims is my best available wide receiver. Way too early to be taking him. So Nyheim Hines goes. So this is what I was going to say. I'll go ahead and I'll say, you know what? I don't think that this guy who's drafting after me is going to take 2 running backs when he already has 3. He ends up taking 1, which was actually a surprise in its own right. So Nyheim Hines goes, but David Johnson will be my pick as long as he falls to me, my 4th running back, and we'll clear it with that. Other options I could go to: Jamal Williams, Latavius Murray. Tariq Cohen would be a guy here that I'd consider if those reports did not come out. James White, but we'll go with David Johnson. We'll secure our running backs. We now have 4 running backs. Those running backs' names are Ezekiel Elliott, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, David Montgomery, and David Johnson. We have 1 quarterback in Jalen Hurts, but we're looking to secure Jameis Winston potentially at the next turn, the 14-15. I think that's where I'll be going. Hopefully he makes it to us. We have 2 tight ends already, and then it's just figuring out wide receiver all the way, right? So we have Michael Thomas, Deontay Johnson, Corey Davis, Darnell Mooney, Jalen Reagor, and Christian Kirk. I admit, our quarterbacks, they're going to look good if we get Jameis. Our tight ends, they're going to look solid. Adam Trotman and TJ Hawkinson, that's fantastic value in my opinion on both of them. Running backs, feel great about. The wide receivers is where I have some concerns. But if Michael Thomas can return to form, if Deontay Johnson can be a target leader like he has been last year, we're starting to look good. If Darnell Mooney, there's a lot of ifs, I know I'm saying that, but a lot of these aren't the craziest of ifs. I mean, the Michael Thomas and Deontay Johnson, just do what you've been doing. So if we can land some late value at wide receiver, which some is remaining on the board right now as I look at this, if we can land some late value, I think we'll be in a solid spot. Maybe not an elite spot at wide receiver, but a solid spot to overall have some stacks. So MVS goes, like people taking MVS as early as they did. I get the love for Jacoby Myers. I'm saying that he's going to be the number 1 receiver. It's still too early to take Jacoby Myers ahead of, in my opinion, Denzel Mims, Amari Rodgers, T.Y. Hilton, right? Deshaun Jackson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, a rookie with not much target competition. And we can actually, this is something that's coming to mind now, if we're trying to backdoor some stacks here. Amon-Ra St. Brown is one of my 2 best available wide receivers. Let's see. If he falls to us, as you see Justin Fields go there, that's fine. We don't want him. If he falls to us, Amon-Ra St. Brown, we now have 2 lines with TJ Hawkinson and Amon-Ra St. Brown. It sounds gross to want to stack the lines, but if everybody's down in the lines, it means it's opening up opportunity and value that if they pop off, if Jared Goff has a better year this year, and his only options, if Amon-Ra breaks out and TJ Hawkinson a clear option, if that's what ends up happening there, well, now you're in the situation where nobody probably has that stack in a big tournament, and you're bringing in all the fruits of the labor, especially if you're going to be drafting like 100 or more teams like I plan to for these tournaments. You're in a really good spot because it's not like if it doesn't work out, it's not like it's your home league and now you're dead in the money, if you can follow what I'm saying there. I'll also call out, yet again, I am still drafting. I have all the way down to 125 ranked wide receivers, so it takes me well through this. I have all the way down to 90 ranked running backs, yes, 50 ranked quarterbacks, and 50 ranked tight ends, so you're never going to run out. As long as your draft is, you'll be fine. Top 200 overall, that's all in the Supreme Draft Guide. It is limited time only for free right now down below thanks to our sponsors on Prize Picks. That is not going to last, but there's a way to get it for free in the description. You can check that out. The 2021 Supreme Draft Kit is now live as of July 1. So coming back to our pick, wide receivers are going, but not, again, still not a lot of wide receivers that I even have any interest in. Like AJ Green just went. He's my 102nd. That's name value. He's my 102nd wide receiver. He would be somebody that I would consider taking in the 18th round. He goes in the 14th round. We have to remember that we need to get Jameis Winston here. Jameis Winston's time to be drafted is slowly coming up, and it is concerning me because we have a lot on the line here. But other guys, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Zach Wilson, Daniel Jones, Carson Wentz, are still there ahead of Jameis. Jameis has some uncertainty as Carson Wentz goes. Jameis has some uncertainty. The player drafting right now already has 2 quarterbacks. So we are in a position here where not many people should be even looking at Jameis. It's hard to stack Jameis, especially when I already have Adam Trotman and Michael Thomas. Devin Singletary goes perfect. We don't want any running back. So the pick here is going to be Jameis. He goes at the 182nd pick. My pick will be, you know what, we might still, no, we're about right. My pick will be the 170th pick. So we'd be taking him around early. Demarcus Robinson. So here's actually a strategy. I'm not going to take Jameis with this pick. I'll take him with the next because the guy after me gets back-to-back picks, and he's already taken 2 quarterbacks. So Jameis, by all accounts, should fall to us there. If I'm looking at wide receivers, we're going to get Amon-Ra St. Brown here. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a rookie in Detroit. He is my best available wide receiver. My wide receiver 58. I mean, I've been taking in the Best Ball Mania. Amon-Ra St. Brown goes anywhere from the 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th round. So very little risk now for Amon-Ra St. Brown with little target competition. So another wide receiver with upside who we can potentially, if for whatever reason Jameis goes to this pick, I'm not expecting it, we can end up getting a Jared Goff later. I don't plan to take 3 quarterbacks, but when you have sketchy quarterbacks like Jameis, who, you know, it could be Taysom Hill show. He started last year and he won games, and Jalen Hurts, who can just stink the first month and then you don't have a quarterback. It's not the worst idea to take a 3rd quarterback. I have not done it yet, but we would, if we took a Jared Goff, we'd be tied to the Lions offense, the Saints offense, and somewhat of the Eagles offense. Like that Jalen Reagor is more so his legs. There's only, the Jalen Hurts is more so his legs because only Jalen Reagor is his stack. So we're set right now, right as I stand at this quarterback. We're set at tight end. We're set at running back. It's just, we're in the 15th round now. We got 3 picks left, and it's just going to be wide receiver city. So I feel very good with where we're at. Let's actually take a look in the double box, and we can see right here, and let me actually change the overlay that we got on the screen. I did a video for the NBA earlier, and that one was sponsored by Ritual, but this one is going to be sponsored by the Underdog, of course. So here's my teamer, and we can see most of it. So we got the quarterbacks right here, Jalen Hurts and Jameis Winston. We like that. I think there's a lot of upside. There's obviously downside in those guys, but if one hits, let alone both, we're in a good spot, and I expect both to start the season. Zeke, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, David Montgomery, and David Johnson. Now, this would look even better to most people if this said Dalvin Cook. It could have. I took Zeke 2nd overall. If this said Dalvin Cook, many people might think it looks a lot better. I have those guys neck and neck. And then wide receivers where I think I am the weakest, but I'm okay with that because I still think it's solid. Michael Thomas, Deontay Johnson, Corey Davis. I mean, this is number one receiver. Corey Davis comes in as the number 1 receiver. Darnell Mooney, the clear number 2 behind Allen Robinson, but a breakout season when he had no accurate passes. Jalen Reagor, number 2 receiver. Christian Kirk, still the number 2, although Rondell Moore will push him. Amon-Ra St. Brown, maybe the number 1, and then we have Hawkinson and Adam Trotman starting tight ends on their own respective teams. Now we're just looking at wide receivers. So if wide receivers don't start to go, or guys I don't want go, we're in a good spot. Olmedid Zaccheaus, he's somebody that I would have taken. So somebody I would have taken. Van Jefferson, not somebody I would have taken at least with the next 2 picks. So the only things I'm looking at is these positions. Dwayne Eskridge goes, somebody I definitely would have. So my 2 best available wide receivers literally just went. Amari Rodgers and Dwayne Eskridge. And oh no, there goes Denzel Mims. Joe Schmo gets a great pick. Denzel Mims was the guy that I was going to take in the 11th round, and I said, holy shit, his ADP is now 190 because a camp report came out that Keelan Cole is running ahead of him, which was, in my opinion, not going to be the case. It's going to be Denzel Mims on the outside. Just because in one practice Keelan Cole runs with the starters does not mean that Denzel Mims is no longer the 2nd round pick last year out of Baylor, dynamic player. I know he doesn't have investment from this specific regime like Keelan Cole does to an extent. In my opinion, that was a camp day practice of seeing who else you have on the outside, because you have Corey Davis on the outside, you have Denzel Mims, and then a bunch of slot receivers, Crowder, Keelan Cole, Elijah Moore, right? So we're on the clock next, not on the pick next. And a lot of guys I wanted, a lot of wide receivers I wanted, honestly, are now gone. But you still have Darius Slayton, right? We still have Darius Slayton on the board. We still have Deshaun Jackson on the board. I think that this is going to be a spot for me to go ahead and say, you know what? Let's go with the younger kid, Darius Slayton here, and if Deshaun Jackson makes it, I'll take him. I'm not the highest on Darius Slayton. I obviously like Sterling Shepard. I love Kenny Golladay, comparatively, of course, more. Nico Collins goes, kind of a mistake in my opinion, especially with who's going to be his quarterback. But we'll take Darius Slayton there because he is going to play on the outside, right? Sterling Shepard, I think, is going to go in the slot. Kadarius Toney is not going to start. He'll be in 4 wide receiver sets and used as a gadget player, in my opinion. It's going to be Darius Slayton, who has somewhat of a connection with Daniel Jones, especially from his rookie year. Damn. So Deshaun Jackson goes. That was the guy I was going to take. So we have to pause our thought process there and now look back at who we want here. My best availables are Kadarius Toney, Allen Lazard, and Josh Reynolds. Allen Lazard will have a battle in the slot with Amari Rodgers, the rookie. At this point, I think I'm going to go Josh Palmer. Josh Palmer is my 4th, 5th best available guy. He was drafted in the 3rd round by the Chargers. You're hoping that he steps on the field there, right? And in the 17th round, I'm willing to take a risk that he does. You're hoping that he steps. Whoops. You're hoping that he steps on the screen on the screen on the field because there's a third-round pick now tethered to a great offensive line, good offense in general, and a solid quarterback as we saw last year with Herbert. So in the 18th round, I'm going to go. I mean, it's going to be wide receiver. Unless there's nothing left of wide receiver and I just want to ensure 3 stacks, I can go Jared Goff. He's still going to be on the board. Big pen if I wanted to go Deontay, but I'm not going to do that. I could also make sure that I'm secure and go Taysom Hill, but I don't plan to do that. The goal is wide receiver here. Running backs left. Somehow James Washington or James White is still available. I think that's appealing. Tariq Cohen not even going to get drafted now due to the news, as you can see right here. But a lot of wide receivers are slowly coming off the board, guys that I actually had some interest in as well. No, but Kadarius Toney still remains. Allen Lazard still remains. Actually, Toney might have just went. Yeah, Toney just went. Yeah, so Toney's gone. So, yeah, we're really running low on wide receivers now. As Allen Lazard goes, Hunter Renfrow, who they expect to start yet again, and so do I, goes. Not much left here at all. I mean, we're looking at like Kiki Kute, Amir Smith-Marset, the wide receiver drafted by the Vikings, who his only competition is guys like Olabisi Johnson and Chad Beebe, who have not got much run the last couple of years in Minnesota, mainly because of their skill set, in my opinion. You can go Marquez Callaway, somebody that I can take in the 18th round to try and fill out this Saints stack even more. It's not a terrible idea. He's somebody that is going to be the wide receiver 3 on this team, but that's also taking into account that Adam Trotman is a tight end and Alvin Kamara is a running back, right? Traquan Smith, Michael Thomas. So he's like the number 5 option at best on this team. And that is going to be Marquez Callaway. Deontay Harris, more of a special teams guy. Juwan Johnson, very raw player. Don't expect much there. So we could take Callaway here for more stacking reasons. The Eagles, there's not much to take at this point. If we're like, oh, who else can you stack up in terms of a late round wide receiver? Nobody. Like Greg Ward, I just, now that they've drafted Devonta Smith, Jalen Rager, I think Greg Ward is probably out, right, in terms of just being involved in an offense. They still have Travis Fulgham, who they re-signed. Quez Watkins, a second round or a pick last year, second year player, not good. Arcega Whiteside is basically donezo, right? So we're looking at wide receivers, and we're not looking at much. I think Keelan Cole is not a terrible option this late. Josh Reynolds and Marcus Callaway are probably my favorite options. I am personally higher than I think everybody in the marketplace on Kiki Kute, though, player that showed a lot of upside. He's obviously in Houston, but I think you're going to see Randall Cobb, Kiki Kute start. People are taking Nico Collins over these guys, who was great coming out of high school, put in a bad college situation, but didn't thrive at all. So, yeah, the best available for me, Josh Reynolds, although how much meat is left in the bone in a play-action offense that did support 2 wide receivers last year, A.J. Brown and Corey Davis, but can they support 3, which is now where Josh Reynolds' role would be on that team. So, Josh Reynolds, don't plan on taking him. He is my best available ranked, though. I'm looking firmly right now at either Amir Smith-Marset or Marquez Callaway, and I would never look at Callaway here. It's only because of the stacking options. It's because of the weeks where Jameis is starting, and if he's going off in these tournaments and Michael Thomas is doing well, but maybe it's not the Adam Trautman week, or maybe Adam Trautman just busts, and Marquez Callaway, as a wide receiver 3, pushes Traquan Smith, who in 4 years in the NFL hasn't done much, and can take over him. So we'll see. We're 2 picks away now. We're going to close this one up with probably Marquez Callaway. Amir Smith-Marset is a rookie. It would be really hard to see a massive breakout from him. Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen ahead of him. Irv Smith now fully there with no Kyle Rudolph, still Dalvin Cook getting involved, and you have to be kidding me. So in the 18th round, Marquez Callaway actually gets fucking drafted. What are the odds? We could take Greg Ward here, undrafted free agent, though don't expect much from that Philly stack. So I'm on the clock. I am on the clock right now. Is there like tight ends that are better? Like Eric Ebron's on the board at least. Like, do we just go tight end and just try and secure that? But we took one early with TJ Hawkinson, and yeah, so we're not going to go there. Wide receivers, I'm going to go Amir Smith-Marset here, and we're going to close it out. You might not have heard much about Amir Smith-Marset. I've been drafting him a decent amount in these drafts. Look, he's a athletic wide receiver who was quality, not outstanding, but quality athletic metrics out of college, and he's on a team that doesn't have a wide receiver 3. And he's on a team that has an aging and old 30-plus-year-old wide receiver in Adam Thielen. We're not drafting him just because of injury, but with the 18th pick, I think we could at least use that somewhat as analysis, as Adam Thielen is eventually going to fall off a cliff. Efficiency-wise, the last 2 years have not been great, but when he scores a shit ton of touchdowns, and you can see the video we have coming out on Adam Thielen, little spoiler, or maybe more so a sneak or a tease, you will see that as well. So that's where we're at right now. Thank you for spending the past 40, 45 minutes of your time with me here. This is a 18-man best ball draft, $5 buy-in, $50K to first on best ball. They have $1 million to first, $1,001 to first in their Best Ball Mania 2. It is Underdog. It is linked down below. You can play with it. And for a limited time only, if you use the code SAL, you can take the link in the description to get you there. If you just deposit anything, $5, $2, you get $25 credit to play with if you use that code SAL. We drafted off of the Supreme Draft Kit today. So that Supreme Draft Kit is linked down below over on bigenergysports.com. Get it while it's hot. You can get that for free as well. Limited time only. A lot of free shit here. Limited time only. Thanks to our sponsors over at Prize Picks. I'll see you on the next one, gang. We're getting very close as I record this in the middle of July. I was in the middle of April making some fantasy football videos at one point, and I was like, we're so far away. Middle of July, we can throw a fucking rock at the first preseason game on August 5th at this point. It's coming up. It's coming up on not even in the rearview mirrors, but more so in front of us now. So thank you for tuning in. I'll see you all in the next one.